Hello and welcome to Newslaundry interviews. I'm sure all of you must have come across the controversy around the manner in which the Election Commissioner of India is undertaking special intensive revision of voter rolls in Bihar right ahead of the assembly elections. For the first time, Election Commissioner of India has placed a burden of proof on already registered voters to prove their citizenship. The opposition political parties and organizations like ADR and PUCL have been raising concern that this move can disenfranchise a lot of voters in Bihar. But is it something that we should be really concerned about? Is the SIR in Bihar can really disenfranchise a lot of voters? To talk about this, we have with us former Election Commissioner Ashok Lavasa. Hello, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Sir, my first question to you is that electoral rolls is something which is revised every year. And right before assembly elections or Lok Sabha elections, Election Commission of India goes for a special summary revision of voter rolls. But what is so different about special intensive revision which is being undertaken in Bihar?
So first of all, thank you very much for having me on your show. I think what is different in this special intensive revision is that there are two categories of voters that have been created, pre-2003 and post-2003. When I say this, what I mean is that those who were on the electoral roll in 2003, when the special intensive revision was undertaken in Bihar last, and those who have been registered subsequently. So those two categorizations have been created. I think that this was not done in the past. The second difference is that the Election Commission has said that those who were registered in 2003, their entry in the roll carries a presumption of citizenship. The entry itself carries evidentiary value of their eligibility. Those are the words that have been used in the notification.
Yes.
Thereby implying that all those registered thereafter, they will have to submit documentary evidence of their eligibility to be enrolled in the electoral rolls. So I think that is the fundamental difference between the earlier SIR and this one. Right. Having said this, I think there has been a request to the Election Commission that they should share with the people the methodology of the revision undertaken in the previous special intensive revisions.
Yes.
Maybe in Bihar, maybe in another state, wherever they have undertaken. That so far has not been shared, which is what is causing misgiving. And that is one part, the methodology. The second, of course, concern arises from the fact that this is being undertaken too close to the elections in the state assembly.
Right.
And people have wondered whether the time is enough for them to fulfill the formalities which are required to be done. Right. So I think those are the two primary concerns because of which there are some misgivings, a lot of anxiety.
But what do you think about the Election Commission of India's decision to ask citizens to prove, who are born after 2003, to prove, I mean it's not a big problem, who are already part of the voter list in 2003, but after those who were born in 2003, the notification clearly says that they'll have to prove that they were born after 2003 and how they were linked to both of their parents.
That's right. So this is indeed one of the critical issues, that the voters registered after 2003, they have been divided into three categories. Those who were born before 1987, July 1987, those who were born between July 1987 and December of 2004, and those who were born later. So all the three categories have been asked to submit different proofs of their eligibility. In the case of pre-87, their very existence in the roll is enough. Those who were born between 87 and 2004, they have to give evidence that one of their parents have one of those 11 documents.
Yeah.
That was the case earlier, but I think Election Commission realized that they should also accept their entry in the electoral roll in 2003. So that relaxation has been made. And those who were born after 2004, they have to submit proof of eligibility of both their parents. So the difference that has been made this time from previous practices is that this is linked to the Citizenship Act. The distinction made in the Citizenship Act in different categories of people, that is now being applied as far as determining eligibility is concerned. I think what we need to understand is that according to Article 326 of the Indian Constitution, it is only Indian citizens who are eligible to vote if they attain the age of 18 and if they are not otherwise disqualified.
Correct.
That is a fundamental tenet of this voting right. And so what is the mechanism for Election Commission to determine the eligibility? And this question is not new, because ever since the Constitution was adopted and ever since the Representation of People Act was passed, there has been a procedure which has been followed in the past. And that procedure revolved around submission of some documents which the Election Commission would prescribe. Those documents would establish that the person who is claiming to be a voter, he has a proof of where he resides or a proof of his identity. He was, of course, supposed to submit an affidavit, say a statement saying that he is a citizen of India, and then that documentary evidence would be substantiated by a physical verification. So that was a procedure that has been followed, and we must give credit to the Election Commission that they evolved a very inclusive procedure by which the voter roll expanded, the electoral roll expanded from about 18 crores in 1951 to almost 1 billion now, almost 100 crores, 99
You have
crores.
mentioned this in your article in Indian Express.
I think that's a time-tested procedure which was followed in the past.
But but knowing the fact that India does not provide any certificate of registration of a citizenship to any Indian citizen who is born in India, and Election Commission of India has, as you have just said, that devised a mechanism to register voters, and it has its own mechanism to verify that this is registering valid people as voters. Do you think this was something which was necessary?
See, the Election Commission has said in its order of 24 June that they want to make sure that all eligible voters are included. Ineligible voters are excluded. Also, they said they want to have more transparency in the system. So I think we respect those objectives of the Election Commission. The point is that for weeding out ineligible voters, there are already established procedures by which ineligible voters can be weeded out, and ineligibility could also arise on account of death. It could arise on account of migration because you shift your vote from one place to another. It could even arise from somebody objecting that this is not your ordinary residence. It could arise from somebody objecting to your citizenship itself. Right? So those procedures do exist, and based on which again, there is a procedure on how Election Commission would proceed in case such an objection was received. They would carry out a preliminary inquiry, and they will ask the objector to furnish evidence which creates doubt about somebody's citizenship, and thereafter the Election Commission was free to refer that case of doubtful citizenship to the Ministry of Home Affairs, which is the competent authority to determine under the Citizenship Act the status of an Indian citizen. So that mechanism is available. I don't know to what extent it has been used in the past, but certainly in the case of Assam, for example, a D list was created, and there was a list of doubtful voters who were removed from the electoral roll, which means that they could not vote. I don't know what is their fate now. Having been put on the D list, it was expected that the state machinery or the established procedure under the law would work. Either a tribunal or any other competent authority would determine their status and then take a decision. But unfortunately, the figures of the number of people put on the D list and those whose status has been now decided, those figures are not in the public domain, so I can't comment on that. But the fact is that there are ways by which ineligible voters, particularly because of doubtful citizenship, can be removed.
There's already a procedure for that.
Already a procedure.
So, but this time...
And let me also say one more thing. Although it is implied in the Election Commission's order that they want to remove ineligible voters, but they have not specifically mentioned that there are large-scale complaints of ineligible voters, particularly on account of citizenship, which have been found, which they want to weed out. And I think Election Commission is very much within its right. If they receive large-scale complaints in any particular area, then they are within their right to carry out a special intensive revision in that constituency or in that district. I think what we need to understand and recognize is that Election Commission of India has been given vast powers and autonomy to evolve its own system, which it has done in the past. And I don't think any intensive revision or any summary revision in the past would have led to so much of controversy.
Why do you think that?
No, it is precisely on account of the reasons that we have just discussed. The distinction made between categories of voters, the timing, and in fact these issues have already come up before the Supreme Court. They have also identified 3 fundamental issues. One pertains to the authority or the power, second pertains to the process, and the third pertains to the timing. So I think these issues are well known. Because an exercise of this magnitude requires some time. It requires people to understand. It requires the machinery to be prepared. It requires a lot of education of the voters. Although we do recognize, and I think people give credit to the Election Commission, that if there is one institution in the country which can carry out very gigantic tasks in short span of time or limited span of time, the Election Commission has done it in the past with the able support of the government machinery. So they have a track record of doing very formidable things. But I don't think that it was linked to an imminent election in the past. And because it is linked to an imminent election, if, let's say, the Election Commission, for example, they have announced now that they will carry out intensive revision throughout the country, I don't think anybody can object to that.
True. Nobody can object to that.
Nobody can object. And if you announce a timeline where people are given ample opportunity to prove, so I think people will cooperate. But in this case, again, I don't know if I'm preempting your question, but I think what has led to a lot of debate and a lot of resentment is that there is a codified procedure of enrolling voters. There is a system of scrutiny. And all these people who have been enrolled after 2003, they would have already undergone this process and the scrutiny. Only on the successful completion of the scrutiny, they were admitted to the electoral roll, which, by the way, is acknowledged by the Election Commission in its order of 24th June. They do say that these people have been enrolled in fulfillment of Section 23 of the Representation of People Act. And after the satisfaction of the ERO. This is acknowledged in the order. So obviously the question would be that then why should we subject them to this procedure again?
By subjecting them to this procedure again, isn't the Election Commission of India going against its own standards, that going against itself, that
well, in a sense, going against...
When they were the ones who have granted them the legal right to vote.
In fact, that again is one of the issues which was agitated in the court, that the Election Commission, why should it discard its own epic, which it has issued after following the due process. So these are questions, I think they're before the court, and let's see what the court decides.
Right. You have also mentioned that the timeline before a state goes for a special intensive revision exercise, the booth level officers, all the EROs, they have to be trained for that. And do you think 1 month is a sufficient time period to be able to carry out this big exercise for 8 crore voters?
As I said, that Election Commission is capable of doing the impossible. And having been a part of the system, not only in the Election Commission, but part of the district machinery where we were used by the ECI, its power of galvanizing resources is tremendous. And the commitment that people have, especially the functionaries who are involved in undertaking any of these exercises, is enormous.
Right.
So they have a lot of commitment to doing this work. So I don't want to judge the outcome of this exercise at this stage. Let's see what happens on the 25th of July. Let's see what happens thereafter, because even on that, I think there's an open question. The question being that there is no clarity whether people who are required to submit their enumeration forms by 25th of July have to submit those forms along with the necessary documents, or just the submission of the form is enough for them to be included in the draft roll. If their names are included in the draft roll, which will be published on the 1st of August, without the submission of documents, then will they be asked to submit these documents between the 1st of August and the last date of claims and objections? That's another question. Because I keep wondering that in the absence of the documents, first of all, how will the BLO make his recommendation?
Right.
Because the procedure prescribed by the ECI says that the BLO has to recommend. And my understanding of recommendation is that it could be either way.
True.
Right? I can recommend that this name should not be included.
Right.
So I don't know whether recommendation means only positive recommendation. And the second thing is that for all those forms that are submitted without the prescribed documents, how will the ERO or the competent authority make up his or her mind on the eligibility of the elector?
True.
Right?
True.
So there again, it's an open sort of question.
I mean, its notification itself said that after 25th July, when they'll be done with collection of all the documents, the EROs and AEROs, which are district level officials, will scrutinize these forms against the eligibility criteria laid down in the Constitution, which requires electors to be Indian citizens or above the age of 18 and ordinary resident in the constituency. So we don't know how this process is going to be carried out.
No, so it is obvious that without the documents, the ERO cannot make up his mind.
Right.
And that again is a difference between the previous revisions and this revision. Because in the previous revisions, the documents that were submitted were not attached to citizenship question.
Right.
And if it is only a question of determining the veracity of the identity or the proof of ordinary residence, then as the Supreme Court has observed, that why not consider EPIC, why not consider Aadhaar, why not consider the ration card? Although in the ration card, of course, now we have the system of one nation, one ration. So you can be a ration card holder anywhere, but you can draw your rations from anywhere. That having said, but these are the ordinary documents which are available with people, and these are the ordinary documents by which you can generally establish that I reside in this place and this is my identity.
Right. Right. So you are saying that there's a lot of unclarity over how this process is being carried out, and what decisions would be taken once the EROs or the AROs decide that maybe this voter is not, or maybe this citizen of the country should not be a voter.
No,
what happens to them after 25th July?
So maybe Election Commission will come out with some other clarification on what they require to do. But as I said, that this question again and again comes to my mind, that how will the ERO decide if he doesn't have a document?
Right. Is it even in their ambit to decide citizenship of a...
Not citizenship. That is the coin.
Right.
So you have raised the fundamental question, and I think that is at the root of this entire debate, that in our country, under the Citizenship Act, there is no single document issued by the government,
right,
by which you can claim that, yes, this is the proof of my citizenship. So in the absence of any such document, and that's a question which I have raised, several people have raised, that how fair is it to ask me to give proof of my citizenship? Because even the Citizenship Act recognizes citizenship by different ways: by birth, by naturalization, by settling down in the country, or there are various methodologies. So whereas in other forms of citizenship, I think there is a procedure by which you will get a certificate of citizenship. But for those who are born in this country, I keep wondering, what is the proof of my citizenship?
True. This debate has also made me wonder this.
So, and certainly under the Citizenship Act, ECI is not the authority to decide this. So again, the question is that for some reason, if somebody is excluded from the electoral roll because he cannot submit the documents,
right,
and because we have said that all the others are citizens, because they have submitted the documents. So does it tantamount to saying that the person who has been excluded is not a citizen?
Right.
And then what are the consequences? Will again these cases go to, under the Citizenship Act, to various tribunals for decision? What will happen to those people? So those are open questions. I'm not saying that they will be non-citizens.
Right.
But there is no clarity on this issue.
Right. Shouldn't we have had the clarity about all these questions before we had gone for this kind of a massive exercise for 8 crore voters?
Yeah, that is the expectation. And I think in all ways, Election Commission has been known for its consultative approach. So the number of petitions that have been filed in the court, if that is an indication, then obviously people feel that they have not been consulted, or at least they were not prepared so soon for this massive exercise.
The other thing is, the Supreme Court has suggested the Election Commission of India to include Aadhaar card, Epic card and Rashan card in the list of the documents that it has been asking people to provide. But it is still for the Election Commission of India to decide whether they want to include these documents or not. But the court has asked that even if they don't include these documents, they have to give a valid reason for that. Do you think, supposedly the Election Commission of India agrees to include these documents in its list, do you think the matter would be resolved after that?
It will ease the burden of a lot of people, because they would already have an Epic card. I presume that all those who have been registered after 2003, they have an Epic card. And these days, Aadhaar card, almost everybody has. Also, the irony is, and I think this is a question which was again raised in the Supreme Court, that many of these people would have got enrolled on the basis of proving their identity by showing an Aadhaar card. And on the basis of that, they were admitted as voters. So now to say that we don't recognize either Aadhaar or the Epic card, it seems a little confusing. And the second thing is that, you see, it's a fact that Aadhaar is only a proof of your identity. Even the Act doesn't say that it is proof of citizenship. And I am told that the domicile certificate, which is one of the 11 documents prescribed, that is being issued on the basis of an Aadhaar card.
Yeah.
So somehow it seems a little strange. And I think if there had been wider consultations, which I hope are undertaken for this exercise in other parts of the country, then it can be broad-based. People will understand what they're expected to do, and they'll be prepared for it.
Right. The other difference is also that until now, in all the revision exercises that have been conducted, the burden of proof, like whenever anybody would raise doubt over a voter, the burden of proof was that on that objector. But
Right.
this time, this is completely flipped, because Election Commission of India has always worked with ethos that no voter should be left out. And my question to you was that the Election Commission of India, in its notification on 24th July, said that the reason why it is going for a special intensive revision exercise is rapid urbanization, frequent migration, young citizens becoming eligible to vote, non-reporting of deaths, and inclusion of the names of foreign illegal immigrants have necessitated it to conduct this exercise. Do you think it could have been, I mean, these are the concerns which, these are the things which always would have been concerns for Election Commission of India, where whenever it's going for a revision exercise. Do you think this is something which could have been done differently?
No, as I said, that the procedure, the established procedure, the existing procedure, it provides for weeding out
Right.
ineligible people. If there is an ineligible person in any district who's come into the electoral roll, somebody can file an objection,
Yeah.
right? And then the Election Commission or the ERO will determine what to do with that person. So that procedure exists. And as I said, that yes, there are circumstances, very peculiar circumstances, in which Election Commission can notify its own procedure. That authority it has, provided that procedure is fair and just, equitable, transparent. So that those tests have to be met. And then it can say that yes, in this particular region or in this particular constituency, this is what I aim to do. After all, they did create a D list in Assam.
Yeah.
So that is possible. And I think this clarity should be there in the orders which are passed, and it should be known widely that this is the purpose of this exercise.
Right.
Because to the best of my understanding, no one, those who have gone to the court or those who are opposed to this exercise, this current exercise, has argued that people should be given voting rights even if they are not eligible. Nobody has said that. And I don't think that any Indian citizen would welcome
Yeah.
ineligible voters to have the right, which is their exclusive right.
Right.
So let it be done transparently, and with adequate time. Because after all, when you are depriving somebody of his right, because rightly or wrongly, if that person exists in your electoral roll, you have given him a right.
Yeah.
And when you are taking away that right from him, you have to follow the judicious process.
And we don't know what will happen after 25th July. In the last 1 year, several opposition parties have been raising question about voter lists. They have raised concerns about voter list in Maharashtra. We saw Arvind Kejriwal also raising concerns about legitimate voters were weeded out of the voter list ahead of the Delhi Assembly elections last year. What should have been the right way to do it? I mean, what were the new mechanisms that should have been introduced to revise our voter list, or what upgradation we needed in our special revision exercises?
You're right. So there have been two or three major complaints. First complaint is about duplication.
Right.
That people get themselves enrolled in more than one constituency. I think Election Commission has been conscious of this for the last maybe more than 2 or 3 decades. And it has always tried to weed out these duplicate entries. At some point, I think there was an estimation of how many duplicate entries exist. The challenge is, how do you weed them out? And in times earlier, maybe more than 3 decades back, when there was no computerization of records, and when the rolls were maintained at the district level, at the state level, the rolls didn't speak to each other of the different states. It was quite difficult for anybody to match 2 entries. Also, the cultural feature of a country being that the names are very common. So, if somebody has a name of Arun Kumar, son of Ramesh Kumar, and there could be 1,000 people with this combination. So, how do you know that these are different persons or the same person, right? So, Election Commission has carried out deduplication exercise number of times, and as a result of that, number of double entries have been weeded out. And I must also say, and people should know in the country, that it is the citizen's responsibility, it is the elector's responsibility to make sure that he or she is not enrolled in more than one place.
Right.
Right? That is what the law says. Yet, ECI has been very indulgent because of this motto that they don't want to leave any eligible person. Even if you have enrolled yourself more than once, we leave it to your good sense to remove one entry. Because ECI has been confident always that even if your name exists in 2 places, you will vote only once.
Yeah.
Right? So that is one way of cleaning up the roll, deduplication,
Yes.
which is an ongoing exercise. The other, of course, was also that people were found with the same epic number in different places. That also, the present Chief Election Commissioner did announce in February that within 90 days he'll try and rectify those errors. So that is also an ongoing process by which you make sure that the same epic number doesn't reflect in 2 entries. That is the second part. I think a big challenge in India has been about migrant voters.
Yeah.
And it is a moot point where they would like to vote. Whether they would like to vote in their place to which they belong, or whether they would like to vote in the place where they work. And the Representation of People Act, it leaves the definition of ordinary residence very ambivalent. And when I say ambivalent, I think there is a realization in the lawmakers that a person may choose to vote in the place where he actually belongs because he thinks that his political interests, his family, everybody lives there. At the same time, the ECI procedures have always allowed people, the migrants so-called, to enroll themselves wherever they want.
True.
So that is why in India we have been following the principle of ordinary residence.
Yeah.
And there are judgments of the court to say that even if you have lived for 48 hours in a place, you should be enrolled.
Yeah.
So I think that flexibility has served us quite well. And there cannot be a fixed approach that you have to vote either where you live, where you work, or you have to vote in the place where you were born. And the Act very specifically says that just because you have a house in a place, it doesn't mean that you're an ordinary resident.
Right.
And just because you're away from that temporarily, that also doesn't mean that you don't live there.
Right.
So I think it's all based on physical verification and local affirmation. People will confirm whether you live in this place or not. So that is the third area on how you clean up these rolls. Then apart from cleaning up, one other issue with electoral rolls is that how do you enroll the 18-19 age group?
Yeah.
Because in their case, the enrollment levels are very low. I think not more than 50% of eligible voters, the first cohort, 18-19, they get enrolled.
Yeah.
That is if you match the demography with the entries in the electoral roll. So there I think we have a long way to go. Plus, of course, there could be cases of people who have settled in India from outside, undetected, and they have got themselves enrolled, and weeding them out is certainly a desirable exercise, which should be conducted. But as I said, it should be conducted as openly as possible.
True. But my question to you is, what was the upgradation in process which would have led to healthier process? We have done several stories which raises, which has flagged that in a lot of constituencies, we saw that the addition rate of new voters was 8% or even 10%, and which is quite high as a cutoff of 4%, which has been set by the Election Commission of India itself. And we also saw that deletion rates were was also, like in a lot of booths we saw, when we had visited Chandni Chowk in Delhi or Farrukhabad in Uttar Pradesh, we saw that the deletion rate of voters in booth exceeded up to 50% or 60%. So these are the things which which we have come into public knowledge in the last 6 months.
All valid concerns.
Yeah.
And if I may say that there are two very important things. One is that the number of people who get added or deleted from any electoral roll, I think Election Commission should openly declare that this is the standard cutoff. And if there is any addition or deletion beyond that standard cutoff, it could be 2%, it could be 4%, based on whatever is the statistical comfort level. Any polling station where the addition or deletion is beyond this cutoff on either side, I think those polling stations should be red flagged very clearly at the time of the draft, publication of the draft. Now, that having said, the entire exercise of preparation of electoral rolls and of many other procedures which Election Commission follows is predicated on the fact, on the assumption, presumption that people and political parties will participate in that process.
True.
Right?
True.
So when you appoint a BLO to do a verification, generally the BLO is a local person.
Right.
He or she knows the local area, but there is a fair possibility that she or he would also know the local people. And the claims and objections period is precisely meant to do this, that if the local people find that somebody is ineligible, they will object and then leave it to the ERO to decide. So people's participation and the vigil which political parties will keep on each other, that is fundamental to this process.
I'll come to that part, but as you said that Election Commission of India should make this public wherever all those booths, all those constituencies wherever the rate of additions and deletions have gone beyond the cutoff rate. What do you think is stopping Election Commission of India to do this? It's such a simple thing to do.
No, I don't know. Maybe you should ask them, because this is a thought which comes to me that if there is a standard cutoff, then at least everyone will know that here is a polling station where the numbers are going up. So if there is any reason to suspect, then the authorities will carry out a greater scrutiny of that place. And the objection will be raised at the right time.
Right. So when you were Election Commissioner of India, did you ever propose this mechanism?
I don't think that this issue came up. So you find solutions or possible solutions when the problems surface.
Right. Okay.
But having said this, I think, although I'm out of touch with the procedures, I think the instructions do alert the EROs that they should be watchful if there is an extraordinary increase.
Yeah.
And I think Election Commission also watches this at the state level. That is the trend of addition and deletion of voters. Is it keeping in pace with the trend of the population growth? Those figures are very meticulously monitored by the Election Commission. And you will find, if you want to find data, then these statistics are available, that we thought that this would be the population in such year. And if you compare that with the voters in the electoral roll, then this is the percentage. So if you find that this percentage doesn't match the average, then you ask questions.
Right.
That why is it so low or why is it so high? So those things are done. But my suggestion is going a step further. I am taking it down to the polling station level. Because it is only there that you will be able to find if there is any manipulation.
So you are saying that Election Commission of India does document whenever additions or deletion rates have have not been in line with our increase in population. Why aren't these reports ever made public? That what could be the reason?
I don't know whether they are not public.
No, in Maharashtra, there were 41 lakh increase in electorate in 5 months, which was higher than the increase in electorate in the last 5 years. And
why did no one raise this question when the electoral rolls were published?
Well, this is for...
So the draft electoral rolls were published.
But it doesn't mean we cannot raise these questions now.
I'm not saying you can't raise. I'm not for a moment suggesting.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that the process followed by the Election Commission, it is predicated upon people's participation and the stakeholders being alert. So once the roll has been finalized, it assumes a legal sanctity. And after the results, if somebody questions the roll, then there is very little that the Election Commission can do about that roll. They can certainly refine their procedures for future.
But Election Commission of India in its own guidelines says that it has mandated it mandates CEOs and DEOs to do ground verification of certain number of additions and deletions in their district or at the state level. But I wonder if these reports, if their findings are ever documented or...
They're documented. It is mandatory for them to carry out the number of inspections that they are required to do. So nobody can escape that responsibility.
Oh, so their findings are documented, but they're never made public.
No, again, I think you need to appreciate the point that till this is done at the polling station level. You see, the idea is that if there are outliers, those outliers must be identified at the right time so that a further scrutiny can be done. There could be a valid explanation, there may not be a valid explanation.
True.
But then at least if you red flag them at the right time, you have time to make corrections.
True. But how do we know if second inspection was carried out, if certain red flags were found out
The
by the
draft rolls are published, and in every roll you have a list of additions and deletions. So the rolls are available.
The rules are available,
parties.
but we don't know if the poll officials in their ground inspection had found some red flags. Don't we need more transparency in this entire system if these reports of their ground verifications are made public?
No, it is, I think, presumed that these instructions would be followed. As I said, that people take this work quite seriously.
Right.
So they would carry out the inspections. And if nobody raises any objection, then how do I know whether this is valid or invalid?
But don't you think the time period which the political parties get to raise objection is very low? I mean, the final voter list gets like the voter list is updated right ahead of the election. The voter lists are updated till the time of nomination, and after that they are published. So, which gives them very little time to raise objections and to do this kind of an analysis. How many voters were added on each booth? How many voters were deleted? It needs some time. And I think after the voter list is published, any political party would have only 2 or 3 weeks. So do you think it is sufficient to raise these kind of,
You see,
to raise claims and objections?
no amount of time is enough for those who do not exercise their responsibility in time. That's the short answer to this question. When the rules are published, they are made available to everyone. Everyone, when I say everyone, to the stakeholders, political parties. And if there is any addition to that, it is shown separately. It's not inserted inside. So if anybody looks at the electoral roll, the draft which was published, the final electoral roll, if there is any further addition, deletion, I think a comparison of the three can tell you.
But that comparison, to do that comparison, it needs a lot of time.
That is why there are BLAs. Because a BLA will only do it for his particular polling station.
True, but the data shows that only one political party, which is the BJP, has been quite robust in appointing the booth level agents, while the other political parties have not been able to do so. And there could be a lot of reasons for that. There could be a new political party which would not have that amount of money and resources to appoint booth level agents, which only one political, there can be difference in amount of how much money one political party has in comparison to the other. Do you think it is right to leave a responsibility on the booth level agents to raise claims and objections?
Who else will do it? Who else will do it?
Well, Election Commission of India. I mean, shouldn't it shouldn't it make system more transparent?
No. I think you should understand, Election Commission of India is a supervisory authority. Whether it is registration of voters, electors, that responsibility statutorily is with the ERO. Conduct of elections is the returning officer. They supervise. They issue directions or guidelines, right? They don't do the original work that you are expecting them to do. It's not their responsibility to do original work. After all, there are, as we just discussed, there are 99 crore voters. There are 1 million polling stations which are established. There are 15 million people, poll officials who are involved in the conduct of elections. So this entire machinery moves on the basis of A, standard operating procedures, B, repeated training, 3, oversight by the people and the political parties. So I think and of course the supervision of the Election Commission. So all of them happen, and I think it may be expecting too much from one person to exercise all the authority and responsibility and others not playing their part.
Right. So you're saying it's the equal responsibility of political parties to ensure that the voter rolls are pure. Thank you so much for joining us for this interview. And with that, this interview comes to an end.